So you want a Kawasaki Ninja 500. This tells me you're probably thinking with your brain, not your heart. Because after a quick Google search for best beginner motorcycle, you probably clicked on a couple reviews, scrolled a few forum posts, each espousing the same idea. The Ninja 500 is the obvious choice. It's the default answer, case closed. Similarly, if you want your first sports car, you get a Miata, right? But just like the Miata, its ubiquitousness is as much a strength as it is a weakness. The Ninja is great, for sure. It's A2 compliant, easy to live with, and looks pretty sharp for a beginner bike. But despite what everyone commonly said, it's not for everybody. So let's figure out what makes the Ninja 500 so great and determine whether or not it is actually the best bike for you. And the truth might shock you. Before we start talking about trim levels, model years, or the amount of Monster Energy fitted hats you must have in your wardrobe to qualify for Kawasaki financing, that's a real thing by the way, we have to discuss what the Ninja 500 actually is. Despite the Ninja name and the bright green fairings, this is not a baby supersport. You might see Ninja and think of the ZX6 or the ZX10, the high-revving race-derived sport bikes with aggressive ergonomics that demand skill, commitment, and a moderate disregard for your own well-being to ride on the street. The Ninja 500 is not that at all. If you want a small displacement supersport, Kawasaki actually sells the ZX4RR with a teeny tiny little inline 4 that revs to the moon with real supersport DNA. Nothing quite like it on the market nowadays. But it's significantly more expensive, more demanding to ride, and a pain in the ass to live with on the daily. The Ninja 500 swings in the opposite direction. It's an average, friendly commuter bike more than a sport bike. It has standard ergonomics, street-biased power delivery, and soft and forgiving suspension. It just happens to have fairings and look way faster than it actually is. It would kind of be like if you had a Toyota Camry that was dressed up to look like a Supra. It's still a Toyota Camry. The Ninja 500 is not going to scare you or blow your mind. It's not going to demand finesse or superior levels of aptitude or discipline to ride. Kawasaki's been refining this platform for a really long time now, and there's a reason it's become the default choice. Yet, despite the Ninja 500 being the newest version, it doesn't mean it's the perfect execution. Now that we understand what the Ninja 500 actually is, let's talk about what you should actually buy. Kawasaki didn't just wake up one day and invent the perfect beginner bike. They've been chipping away at this since the 80s with the Ninja 250, then the Ninja 300, 400, and now 500. Every time Kawasaki updates this bike, the rest of the industry kind of just follows their lead. They've essentially set the standard for what a beginner sport bike is supposed to be. But here's the catch. Just because the displacement goes up doesn't necessarily mean the experience gets better. As for the current Ninja 500, you've got your base model. It's got a 451cc parallel twin. That's two little cylinders going up and down side to side, making 51 horsepower and 32 foot-pounds of torque. You get the last gen LCD display and a slipper assist clutch. Then you move into SE trims, which adds things like ABS, TFT displays, larger windscreens, and even a USB-C port. Just a nice quality of life upgrades, I guess, but nothing fundamentally changes about the bike. Then you've got the KRT editions, which are basically just livery packages. And finally, the KRT SE, which stacks everything together. You get electronics, styling, the whole deal. Now here's where people get into trouble, because once you start to spring for the higher end trims, you add on some dealer fees, taxes, freight, setup, maybe a tire or battery warranty, suddenly your beginner bike is pushing $8,000, maybe even $9,000 out the door. And at that point, what are we doing? That's highway robbery. Because the reality is, the Ninja 500 is not a bike that benefits massively from these upgrades. You're not unlocking some hidden performance. You're not turning it into a track-ready machine. You're just adding a few creature comforts and a fancy paint job to a bike that should be nothing more than a cheap, fun entry point to motorcycling. The real best value for the Ninja 500 isn't a Ninja 500 at all. It's a used Ninja 400. The 400 hits a really sweet spot. It's lighter, it's a little bit sharper, it revs a little bit harder, and it's a little bit more eager, giving it a more aggressive feel. And because it's been around longer, there's a massive used market. That means better prices, tons of aftermarket support, and way less financial risk if you decide to move on in a year or two. You're not going to sell that Ninja 500 for $9,000. Trust me. You can buy one of these, ride it, learn on it, maybe even take it to a track day or two and sell it for what you paid for. So, if the Ninja 400 is so great, well, why was it phased out? Why did Kawasaki bump it up to 500 and give us the best beginner sport bike? Well, it's actually a classic case of displacement creep. Power for this bike is limited to remain A2 compliant, but a bigger engine making similar power will produce fewer emissions. That's a good way for an OEM to stay in the good graces of the EPA. Yes, you get a little bit more torque with the 500, but it's marginal at best. The bigger engine, tuned for torque and emissions, results in a slightly more lazy feeling bike. The 500 might be a better overall commuter. It's a bit more relaxed, a bit more torquey, but in my opinion, having spent considerable time with both the 500 and the 400 feels sportier, hands down. If you want brand new warranty and zero headaches, the Ninja 500 definitely makes sense, but you're gonna have to pay for it. If you're trying to maximize value and fun and minimize regret, a used Ninja 400 is really hard to beat. But are there any potential pitfalls? On paper, these bikes are about as safe of a bet as you can place to start your motorcycle riding journey, but that doesn't mean they're immune to issues. Don't get it twisted, this has nothing to do with how Kawasaki built these machines, but how crudely they were manhandled by previous owners. I'm sorry, but it's true. Because while the Ninja 400 is an incredible value, the sad truth is that a lot of them are absolutely clapped to death. Purple anodized parts, LED underglow, a vinyl depiction of the Joker on the side of the fairing, and if the outside of the bike looks like that, who's to say what the internals look like? These bikes are owned by beginners, young riders, first-time buyers who are learning, experimenting, making questionable decisions. Kinda sounds like summer camp, am I right? So when you start digging through listings, you might be a little appalled by what you see. So if you're buying used, you gotta be a little more scrupulous. Clean title, stock condition, and service records. Because if it looks like it's been passed around like a dime store, rental scooter, steer clear. The other main issue with buying a Ninja 500 is, as previously mentioned, those damn dealerships. The Ninja 500 is the perfect carrot to dangle in front of the face of a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed baby squid looking to make their mark on the local motorcycle scene. So you're gonna have to contend with high-priced trim levels, market adjustments, unnecessary warranties, or service plans. Can we be so for real? It is a low-cc Japanese motorcycle. Those things are basically bulletproof. You do not need a warranty on top of that other than the one the manufacturer gave you. They're not gonna break, because then your beginner bike is pushing 10 grand financed across a 5-year loan for a motorcycle. Do not do that. Please, for the love of God, don't do that. But if you get a fair deal, a good price, and you want the peace of mind of a brand new bike with a warranty, you'll be golden. There's plenty of reasons to buy a new bike. But again, used models that are properly cared for are totally bulletproof. This is a Ninja 500, not an MV Agusta. There is no need to be concerned about your factory warranty.
All right, it's my favorite part of any giveaway that we do here on YamiNoob. It's when I tell you who won our most recent bike. Jay in Oklahoma took home the Moto Guzzi V7 Sport we recently wrapped up. Here he is enjoying life, looking wonderful with his Italian machine. But fear not, there is another Italian machine up for grabs on yaminoob.co. Click the link down below, become a member today, and get your best chance to win this bike. We've done over 70 giveaway motorcycles. Why not make yourself the next winner? Click that link below, support the show. Now let's get back to it.
So if you're looking at a Ninja 500, you're not exactly short on other options. And depending on what you actually want out of your bike, some of these might make a little more sense. Let's start off with the CF Moto 450 SS. This is probably the closest direct competitor right now. And honestly, in some ways, it's a little more interesting. You get a parallel twin with a 270-degree crank, which gives a little bit more character, a better sound, and slightly more engaging next to the Ninja's very polite, let's say, engine. It's also chock full of features like all these Chinese bikes are. They got TFT display, fancy LED lights, winglets, Brembo calipers, heated clutch lever, seat vibrator, all those extra that probably make it feel more premium than it should for the price. But It's Chinese, and whether you want to admit it or not, it still matters to a lot of people. Long-term reliability, dealer network, and resale value remain question marks compared to Kawasaki's bulletproof reputation, unless you don't look too closely at those ZX6R recalls, which put that reputation into question. But hey, they've been making motorcycles for like 70 years. Come on, give them some credit. The CF Moto is a little more exciting on paper, but it comes with more risk. I mean, your social credit is going to be at risk if you get the Chinese bike, right? Then there's the ZX4RR, which we already touched on. Screaming 399 cc's of inline 4 fun that revs to 16,000 RPM. Yeah, 16,000. It actually makes quite a bit more power too. You do have to flash it, but it does make more power. It has actual super sport DNA in a small package. It absolutely destroys the Ninja 500 in terms of performance, experience, and long-term stay-in power in your garage. But it's also way more expensive, way more demanding, and honestly, it's overkill for most beginners. Next up is the Yamaha R3. This thing's been around for forever, and it's starting to show its age a little bit. Nearly 11 years ago, I started on an R3 that looks strikingly similar to what is still sold today. If you look at that frame, the engine, it's all pretty much the same thing. It's a little last gen, let's say, with a smaller engine, less power, and generally fewer updates over the years beyond just the stylistic fairings and all that sort of thing. It's still a great beginner bike, but I think it just doesn't feel as complete or as modern as a Ninja 500 anymore. If you're looking in the back catalog for used machines, the KTM RC390 is worth checking out as well. They actually don't sell this bike brand new anymore. Maybe they're going to come out with a new version. It's probably going to be a reskinned CF Moto, but it's still an interesting bike. It's got a punchy single cylinder, nice tech, suspension, and a way more sporty and racy feeling than the Ninja. But it's a KTM. The RC390 was around for about a decade or so, and most problems have been sorted, but a KTM is still a KTM. You cannot compare it to a Kawasaki for reliability. The Ninja 500 isn't the most powerful, it's not the most exciting, it's not the most feature-packed, but it is the most balanced, and it is the safest bet you can make for your beginner bike. And depending on who you are, that's exactly what you want, or maybe what you don't want. So, who is the Ninja 500 actually for? First and foremost, in my humble opinion, this bike is for new and younger riders. If you've never ridden before, this is a perfect entry point. You get the sport bike aesthetic without the consequences that usually come with it. This is the bike for the proto-fast boys. The guys and gals who are going to get into riding, learn fast, and quickly move on to something else. The Ninja 400 and 500 are basically proven case studies at this point. How many people started on one of these and ended up on a 600 or a liter bike a few years later? A lot. Same goes for proto track nerds. If you've even got the slightest interest in track days, this is a great place to start. It's a bike you can really push to its limits while you cut your teeth on the track. And it's not going to break. Plus, there's a huge aftermarket of actually really good parts to get it fully track ready, like suspension, rear sets, and nice sticky tires. But it's not for everybody. If you're a bit older, let's say 30 plus, and you're just getting into motorcycling, the Ninja might not be the move. The whole bike kind of leans a little young, a little zany, a little Kawasaki Kyle, some monster energy. It kind of lends itself to that young enthusiasm, that slightly chaotic energy. And if you're coming into this with a little bit more life experience, a little bit more restraint, more mature taste, maybe a clearer idea of what you want, I don't think any beginner sport bike is going to be on your radar. Or maybe you have tangential automotive experience. You've driven manual cars your whole life, you've ridden dirt bikes, messed around with other machines. You might outgrow this thing pretty quickly. In that case, we recommend just skipping straight to the 650 class of bikes, like an MT-07, an SV650, or a Z650. That might serve you better in the long term. And then there is, of course, the physical side of things. If you're a bigger, taller, heavier rider than the average small Japanese man, the Ninja 500 can feel a little small. It's compact, it's light, and while that's great for beginners, it's not always ideal for comfort or long-term ownership for the larger stature riders. The Ninja 500 is an incredible tool for learning. It's basically a solved problem in motorcycling. You can progress and get into motorcycling the right way. But it's not a forever bike, and it is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's for a very specific rider at a specific stage. So, Are you that rider? Or maybe you used to be, now a fully grown cephalopod who traded their Ninja 400 in for a 636 in a single year. Let me know down in the comments below if you're a graduate of the Kawasaki Ninja Squid training pipeline, or if you have cultural nihilism and started on a CF Moto. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. If you found it helpful, check out the rest on our channel. We produce motorcycle content on a near daily basis and are supported by our incredible community on our own website, yamanoob.co. Click that link down below. We give away some amazing motorcycles all the time. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.